Okay, good evening. This is a special meeting of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment being held electronically via Zoom on March 19th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the sunshine notice of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment. Such notice has been placed on the official bulletin board at the Princeton Municipal Complex and by transmitting a copy of the notice to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, and by filing a copy with the clerk of Princeton on March 14th, 2025, and has been posted to the municipal website. Pursuant to Executive Order 107, due to the state of emergency in New Jersey regarding COVID-19 coronavirus, notice that during the declared state of emergency, all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment will be held electronically via Zoom, was transmitted to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, and the Times, and was filed with the clerk of Princeton on the 24th day of April, 2020. Such notices have been placed on the official bulletin board at the municipal complex and on the Princeton website, and are to be maintained throughout the year, and by transmitting a copy of same to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, Comcast Media, and by filing a copy thereof with the clerk of Princeton. Notices have also been placed on all window doors of the municipal complex. Claudia, can you please call the roll? Claudia, you're muted.
Ms. Chen,
Yes.
Ms. Coulson,
Yes.
Mr. Dobkin, Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Mr. Tenenbaum,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
Ms. Donna,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two applications this evening. Our first application is 17 Madison Street, case number Z24-579, block 28.03, lot 53 in the R4B zone. Karen, are the notices in order for this?
Yes, the board has jurisdiction tonight.
Thank you. Derek, well, first of all, is the applicant here, Claudia?
Yes.
Okay.
She'll bring him over.
Okay. Derek, can you summarize your memo for us,
Yes,
please?
sir. Thank you. Dana De Figueredo is the owner applicant of 17 Madison
Mr.
Street.
Bridger, I'm so sorry. I
Hi.
should have sworn you in. Do you swear from your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana De Figueredo is the owner of 17 Madison Street, the applicant and owner, and she's seeking a C2 variance to permit construction of an attic dormer and exception to the required setback, side yard setback height, combined side yard setback and height to setback ratio. Property is located in the R4B zone in the former Princeton Borough. The lot is non-complying with regard to the 60-foot lot width. The existing lot is 29 feet. And it's also non-compliant with the lot area requirement of 6,000 square feet. The existing lot is 4,164 square feet. And the property itself is non-compliant with the smaller side yard setback requirement of 8. The existing is 2.7 feet. The combined side yard setback requirement is 20, and the existing 7.9. The height to setback ratio is actually 4.5 to 1, excuse me. It's typo there, and the existing is non-compliant, and it's non-compliant with regard to the 61.5% impervious coverage requirement. The existing 70.48. The property is located in the Princeton Historic District, suggested historic district, in accordance with the historic preservation element of the master plan, and is eligible for consideration for potential historic designation. The applicant applied for zoning and construction approval to renovate the existing house and install 2 dormers at the end of May 2024. The plans were approved. However, it was later determined that one of the attic dormers did not qualify, did not comply with the required setbacks or height to setback ratio, and that portion of the permit was rescinded. The applicant is seeking variance for the proposed dormer. It requires the following variances. The required combined side yard setback is 20. The proposed just to the dormer is 12.7 feet. And the required side yard setback in this case is 12 feet. Proposed is 4.58. And the required height to setback is 4.5 to 1. And the existing is 6.75 to 1. That's pretty much the memo. They've requested consideration under the C2 criteria. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address those.
Board members, any questions of Mr. Bridger?
Yes, I do have a question. How does this compare with houses to the side across the street in general neighborhood? In terms of non-compliance with the existing zoning?
There's a lot of small lots. I can look at the tax map and give you some more information, but I would say most of them are non-compliant. I'll take a look at the tax map and I can give you some information in a few minutes.
General, that's fine.
Yes,
General.
sir. Sure.
Did Miss Kim have a report on this?
No, she didn't. We're not doing reports on like minor stuff in historic districts. It's only the larger stuff. So it's a suggested district, not an actual district. So
Okay.
And we did approve this last year. What?
No,
no, you didn't
No.
approve this one.
no,
No, this hasn't been before the case. It's complying except for the variance that I missed on the dormer.
There was another one on Madison, I believe, last.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes,
there was.
It looks familiar.
well, it looks a lot, yeah. They're all small lots.
Oh, small lot.
Tough real estate there.
Okay, who will be representing this case to the board?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Henry Chow. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Ms. DiFigurito. So yes, as Derek mentioned, this is a small lot, 4,164 square feet, with a single family house at 17 Madison Street. And the lot is in the R4B zoning district. And like many homes there, as Derek mentioned, is non-conforming with regard to lot width and lot area requirements. So it's an existing conformities with regard to the smaller side yard setback, the combined side yard setback, the height to setback ratio, and impervious coverage requirements. And in May 2024, the applicant applied for zoning and construction approval to renovate the house and install 2 dormers. Like Derek mentioned, the applicant's plans were approved and the applicant installed one of the dormers. So we're here just now for the second dormer. And as Derek mentioned, we need C2 bulk variances for the combined side yard setback, single side yard setback, and the height to setback ratio. There is, I am a little confused about the height to setback ratio because there's been mention of a 3-to-1 requirement. But
Actually
also
mentioned that was a typo, Henry. It's
Oh,
4.5
typo,
to 1,
okay.
excuse me. Yes, sir.
So it's actually 4.5 to 1.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Okay, Jeff, did you get that? Sorry, Jeff is our architect. He's I was talking to him about that earlier. So that's essentially it. We have 3 witnesses, Ms. DiFigurito, who can provide some background on the property, the prior condition of the house, her intentions in renovating it. We do have Jeff Fleischer, who is the applicant's architect, who can describe the technical aspects of the dormer. And we were supposed to have Robert Pisano, my client's engineer, who was actually going to testify on the variance, the positive and negative criteria for the C2 variances. Is he on?
There
Oh,
he
there he
is.
is. Okay, I see him. There we go. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if you want to swear them in all at once or.
Now we can do that, Mr. Chow.
Okay.
So I'm gonna mispronounce your name, I'm sure, Miss DiFigurito. Mr. Pisano and Mr. Fleischer, do you all swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Okay, you're muted. There we
I
go,
did.
Mr. Fleischer. Now you're both on. Thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, so Dana, if you could just go ahead and describe some of the background and your intentions in renovating the house for the board members.
Yeah, sure. I want to thank everyone for being here and just the interest in making sure we're going to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. I love the neighborhood and I want to respect its integrity and its charm. And just to give you a little bit of background, the house, when I bought it, had been abandoned for about 2 years and it was in a state of significant disrepair, both the house and the yard. But my intention in renovating the house is to make it as beautiful, if not more so, than it was originally, and to honor the character and the charm of the neighborhood and the beauty of the neighborhood. So that's it. I look forward to your input. Thank you.
Ma'am, do you know when it was built, just for the board's information?
Yeah, 1903.
1903. Thank you.
Okay. Board members, any question of the applicant? Okay, Mr. Chow, continue.
Okay, so next we have Jeffrey Fleischer. He is the applicant's architect. And if Jeff, can you just go over your educational background, experience before land use boards in New Jersey so we can get you qualified by the board?
Sure. I have a bachelor's in architecture from New Jersey Institute of Technology. I've been licensed in New Jersey since 1997, and I'm also licensed in Delaware and Pennsylvania. And I've appeared in front of this board probably half a dozen times in the last year.
We'll accept you, Mr. Fleischer, as an expert.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, if you could just, Jeff, go over some of the technical details of the dormer. I can put your plans on the screen if you need it.
Okay.
Let's see.
The reason for the dormer was to add ceiling height to the attic space. It's only actually adding about 30 square feet to the attic, but it's providing much needed headroom, which will be a bedroom, a third bedroom in the home. As you can see from the drawing that's up here, it shows the height setback ratio of 6.75, I believe, to the dormer. The actual height setback ratio of the existing house is even steeper than that. It's actually 20-1. So it didn't feel like this dormer would encroach or shade the adjacent property. The dormer will have siding in keeping with the house. It'll have roofing that matches the rest of the house. And it'll actually match the dormer that's on the opposite side, the rear of the home. And the view of the dormer will be blocked in the front by the existing roof.
And Jeff, just to clarify, the dormer doesn't extend out beyond the existing footprint of the house, correct?
It does not. It's set back 4'7" from the property line, where the house itself is 2.7 feet from the property line.
Is the face of the dormer in line with the wall of the second floor beneath it? It looks like it sets back a little bit.
It sits back a few feet, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chad, do you want this marked as an exhibit?
Yes, please, Ms. Casey.
Already, got it. Okay.
This is a copy of drawings that were already submitted.
I understand.
Steve,
Yes,
can I just get back to George on his question about the non-conforming lots?
yes, you can, please.
Thank you. On the subject side of the property, there are 9 properties on that side, and they're all non-conforming with lot width and lot area. On the other side, there are approximately 12 out of 13 properties that are non-conforming on the opposite side of the street.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chow, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's just a minor part of this application. Did you or your client contact any of the neighbors? It's pointless because all the lots are undersized, but you didn't attempt, or did you attempt to see if you could get additional land?
No, I mean,
It's-
there was not an effort to acquire any of, the applicant's neighbors' properties.
Okay,
That wasn't part of I mean, we're talking about a dormer, so.
I know, I just wanted to ask.
Right, right.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. Okay, so next we have Mr. Pisano, who is the site engineer, and he is prepared to give testimony regarding the C2 variances that we need, the 3 that were previously identified.
Are there any questions for me before I mute myself?
Board members, any questions of Mr. Fleischer? No, you can continue, Mr. Chow.
Okay. Bob, can you just go over your educational background and experience before land use boards in New Jersey so we can get you qualified?
Yeah, of course. Good evening. And I'm the owner of Pisano Development Group. We are a structural engineering and construction management company, primarily focused in the renovation and repair of residential structures. I have a degree in Bachelor of Science from Civil Engineering from Lehigh University. And I am a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware for over 20 years. I've appeared before multiple municipal planning and zoning boards throughout the state of New Jersey, including this board. And separately, I'll also let you know that for this particular project, I am the project manager working with Dana, the owner, for the better part of the last year on the ongoing renovation. So I'm very familiar with this building inside and out and the surrounding neighborhood.
We'll accept you as an expert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
So Bob, I'm going to have you go through the positive and negative criteria for C2 variances. First on the positive criteria, can you just explain how this application promotes one of the enumerated purposes of the MLUL?
Sure. So certainly, so when evaluating a variance proposal like this, we're looking at it from 2 standpoints, from the positive and also from the negative, but we'll start with the positive. So under the statute, there's many criteria that would allow this positive criteria. But in this particular application, there's 2 in particular that I would tell you about. One is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development. That's exactly what this proposed dormer does. It takes what is already permitted under the current ordinance, which is an asymmetrical disjointed dormer, and proposes a symmetrical dormer that would be much more in line with a visual appealing and an aesthetically visual pleasing view. Another criteria that this application also falls under is the criteria to promote the conservation of historic sites and districts. We talked earlier about this property being not in the historic district, but a historic property. And that's exactly what Dana and this application is seeking to do, is to renovate from the ground up a historic building, keeping with the historic nature of the building and utilizing the existing building and keeping it in place. So on those 2 criteria, I would say this proposal meets both of those.
Thank you, Bob. And moving on to the negative criteria, do you see this as having any kind of a substantial detriment to the public good, to the neighbors? And 2, do you see this as impairing the intent of the master plan or zoning ordinance in any way?
Well, the simple answer to that is no, and I'll explain that. The statute requires that we look at the negative side as well to see what, if any, negative impacts would be, and we look at whether or not like you said, this would cause any detriment to the public good, and whether it would impair the intent of the zoning ordinance. And in both of those cases, the answer is no. It does not create a substantial detriment in that it is completely consistent with the surrounding areas, surrounding properties, many of which have dormers, including one of the neighboring properties. And it does not impair the intent of the master plan or ordinance in that this dormer would otherwise be permitted if it were not for the fact that it is a pre-existing undersized lot. As we already stated, that the proposed dormer does not extend beyond the existing footprint of the building. In fact, it's set back a few feet from what's already there. So in both of those cases, both the positive criteria and as well as the negative criteria, I think this application, in my opinion, satisfies both of those for those reasons.
And Bob, I mean, you couldn't discern anything in the master plan or the zoning ordinance that would, I guess, not prohibit, but dissuade this kind of use, a dormer on this type of house, right? Especially not in the historic element of the master plan, considering this is a suggested area that could potentially be incorporated as an actual historic district in the future.
Correct. And in fact, like I said before, the 1/2 side of the dormer is approved and permitted and actually has already been constructed. It's just by the nature of this pre-existing condition that creates the need for this variance. So it does not, in my opinion, violate the intent of the master plan.
I have no other questions for Mr. Pisano.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Pisano? Okay. All right, Mr. Chow, we will open the meeting up to the public. Do you want to make a statement before we do that?
Nope.
Okay, that's a good statement. All right, Claudia, do we have anyone who'd like to speak on this application?
I see no hands.
Okay, all right, we'll give it a second. All right, well, we'll close the public portion of the hearing. And once again, Mr. Chow, before we go into executive session, would you like to make any comments or sum up?
Yes, we appreciate the board's time in scheduling a special meeting for our application and the other one. Ms. DiFigurito has been at this for a while, and she hopes that she can get some conclusion on her house renovations and either move forward or not move forward. We appreciate the board's consideration and hope that that you took her statements well, and that you will keep those in mind as you deliberate.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any discussion, questions, comments, or does someone want to make a motion?
I think it's a perfectly reasonable request. And I don't want to cut anybody else off if they want to say something, but I would move to approve.
Eve, I agree with you. I think this is a very reasonable request. Anyone like to say anything or second the motion?
Yeah,
I'll
I
second.
will second.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Whoever was on first, I'll
Bernice,
second it. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? Okay, Claudia, can you call the roll?
Ms. Chen,
Yes.
Ms. Coulson,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver. Steve,
Steven?
Steven,
Muted.
Muted.
I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
Mr. Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Chairman Cohen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It was touch and go there for a while.
All right. Thank you very much.
But good luck with the house. It's a great street.
Take care. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. We have one more hearing this evening. It's case number Z 24-524, 353 Cherry Hill Road, block 4001, lot 10 in the R2T zone. Karen, are the notices in order?
Yes, the noticing is in order. The board has jurisdiction tonight.
Claudia is the applicant. I see the architect. Is their whole team here, do you know? Claudia?
Marina, do you need anybody else over?
We are hoping to get Mauricio on. He's on his phone. He's the homeowner.
Oh, what's his name? I'm sorry, I thought it was Alan. Never mind.
We don't know who Alan is. But Mauricio is the homeowner.
Yeah, he's connected.
732 is the phone number. Is he on his cell phone? Is that showing up as the cell phone number?
He's not there.
Oh, well,
Someone named Mozi, MOCI, no number.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yes.
him. MOCI, yeah.
I don't see him or anything. Will it come up on the screen at all, even if it's just a phone in?
hopefully.
Okay, I
I
don't,
Well,
think
is
he's
he,
doing-
wait a minute, phone in, he'll be phoning and we'll be able to see him though or not?
We're hoping
Okay,
if the technology allows.
All right.
Yes, he's traveling, but one hopes.
Well, he's saying is he's declining to be moved to a panelist.
Okay, we'll text him.
Okay.
Claudia, would you be so kind and try again? He's trying, it's not cooperating. Maybe try one more time.
He keeps on declining my requests.
I think he confused it with because there was an option to accept as a panelist or as an attendee. So he's okay. Well,
Maybe one more time, and if it doesn't work, then Elvira will be representing both homeowners.
I just try again.
Oh, look! Magic, it worked.
yeah.
Can you see me?
no,
no, we
Well,
can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you already.
see you.
That's a step in the right
Okay.
direction.
Sorry,
Yeah.
guys, I'm connecting from Brazil. I'm in São Paulo for business reasons. And I see the message popping up. I click on the message and I cannot really get connected. I don't know why. But I see all of you.
Now you're
And-
connected.
You're connected. We just, if at
You
all
need to
possible,
turn
is
on
there
your video.
activate video button
Yep.
somewhere?
That's what I try. Sorry, I'm on my phone. It's night here and I'm in the middle of the city. So I'm trying to find. I used to have a lot of Zoom call, but this is a little bit complicated. I don't see the video button, to be honest. Not sure what the video button is. But in case my wife Ella can speak if you want to see
Why
the
don't we do
image.
this then? Since we really can't have Mr. Clementi testify if we can't see him, perhaps we're fine for him to listen in, and perhaps he can, convey his comments to his wife, and she'll be the one that testifies. Would that work for you?
Ella,
Sure.
do you feel
Yeah, that's
comfortable
fine.
introducing the project?
Sure, and I also count on your help to give more details, but of course, should I start now?
No, wait.
All right,
Perfect.
well,
Do we need to be sworn in?
which she does. Ma'am, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I swear.
Okay, great, thank you.
You start. Derek, could you summarize your memo
Yep.
on this? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Maurizio Clementi and Elvira Diva, excuse me for butchering your name, are seeking
problem.
a D1 use variance to permit two principal residents on a lot when only one is permitted. Subject lot consists of an existing single-family home, a one-car detached garage, and an existing detached two-story accessory structure, which the applicant is proposing to convert to a dwelling unit. The R2 zone only permits one principal dwelling. A variance pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-70 D1 is required. They're also requesting setbacks under the C1 criteria. Property is located in the R2T zone on the former Princeton Township. The existing single-family use is permitted as of right. Subject property is non-compliant with regard to the required 65,340 square foot lot area. The existing is 30,927.6 square feet. I just note that this reflects the part of the lot that extends into the center line of Cherry Hill Road, is been taken out of the existing lot area. So it doesn't include, if you look at the survey, it goes into the middle of Cherry Hill Road, but there was a file deed recorded in 1964, which dedicated this portion back to the community. The front yard setback requirements 25, existing is plus or minus 15, and the accessory structure height requirements 20 feet, 1.5 stories. The existing's 20.5 feet, 2 stories. The two-story accessory structure in question is situated behind the main principal dwelling, which contains a one-car garage, a half bath, and a finished room on the first floor, and a covered rear porch. The second story contains a playroom. The applicant initially proposed converting the accessory structure to an ADU. However, the size of the accessory structure, approximately 1,100 square feet, exceeds the maximum allowable floor area for an accessory dwelling unit, which is defined as 25% of the floor area of their principal structure, or 800 square feet. The proposed conversion will contain the existing one-car garage and the rear covered porch, a full bath, kitchen, living room, and a circular stair. The second floor plan is labeled as existing playroom. It is assumed that since there's a kitchen and a bath, that this will be some type of habitable space, a bedroom perhaps. The applicant should address the use of this area. Section 10B 255A, which addresses permitted use, this is in the residential zones, restricts the use of residential lots to one single family dwelling. The proposed conversion of this space is classified as a principal dwelling for zoning purposes, and the use variance pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-70 D1 to permit two single family homes when only one is permitted is required. And as you know, a D1 variance can only be granted by the affirmative vote of at least 5 members. No variance or other relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and will substantially impair the intent of the, and will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. The special reasons to justify the relief as requested as required by statute. These special reasons must be shown to be unique or peculiar to the property for which the variance is requested and not generally applicable to the neighboring properties. Reasons why strict application of the zoning prohibition of the requested use or development would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of land or buildings involved. Evidence that the requested relief may be granted without detriment to the public good or the impairment of the intent of the zoning plan, or master plan, and the zoning ordinance. It's also known as the negative criteria. They should also describe the applicant, how the proposed plan relates to the master plan and the proposal's impact on the neighborhood, community needs, set forth the legal arguments for the proposal as well as other pertinent information. The burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate the special reasons. Special reasons may be found where the proposed uses inherently serve the public good, such as school, hospital, public housing, where the owner would suffer undue hardship if required to use the property in compliance with the permitted uses in the zone, and where the use would serve the general welfare because the proposed site is particularly suited to the proposed use. The existing structure does have non-compliant setback. The requirement's 15. The proposed and existing will be 8.2 feet, and the height to setback requirement is 1 to 1.5, and the proposed is 1 to 2. The applicant has requested consideration under the C1 criteria for the 2 bulk variances that are triggered by the conversion of the property to a principal dwelling. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address those. That's a brief synopsis of my memo.
I do have one question. Is that, it appears in the back of the existing structure is like a 1-story, I'll call it a shed. Is that included in the area? In the overall area calculation?
Do you mean the existing garage or the?
Well, what's in the back? It's got no doors on it and a bunch of debris out in front of it.
What are you looking at, a picture or?
I'm looking at a photo. Maybe Ms. Rubino can discuss that.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. I don't know. It looks like a wood storage area maybe, or?
I don't know. I just want to know if it's included in that 11 something area.
No, it's not. It's not included in the FAR.
It's not.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. That was my question.
Yeah.
Board members, any questions of Mr. Berger?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. The size of the accessory structure is 1,100, and on the plans, I think I see a different number. 1,052 is that right?
I calculated it as 1,100, but it still exceeds the 800 or the.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Berger?
Well, I do have a question. It may be Mr. Bridger or Miss Casey, and that is, if this had been an application for an ADU with a variance on the square feet, would it have been a C1 or D1?
I mean, ADUs are limited in size to the 800 square feet or the 25% of the FAR of the principal structure. So you have to be within an ADU size to be considered an ADU. That's why this is a D1, because it's the existing structure is too large to be and considered an ADU. So it's a principal dwelling, and you can only have one on a lot per the permitted uses under 10B 255A.
So,
No, I guess
So
my
it
question,
would be a D variance, George, because the use would not be permitted. It does not meet the standards or criteria for an accessory dwelling unit. So it's the use itself and the proposed structure which is not allowed. It doesn't
Okay.
qualify as an ADU.
I guess my question is, can you have a variance from the requirements of the ADU?
No, because it's not classified as an ADU.
What?
It's too big to be an ADU.
Well, it would be an ADU with a permitted variance that the board permits. That's my question.
No.
No, okay, all right, thank
I
you.
have a follow-up question.
Please.
It seems to me that we're actually being asked something much larger, which is to overrule the allowed, the single-family dwelling zoning. And that seems to me to be kind of a bigger ask than what George just brought up. And if this is something that we can rightfully vote on and approve or disapprove, then let's go ahead. But that's what hit me earlier today, is that it seems that we're being asked to overrule the zoning, and that seems a little bit bigger than whether or not a porch is bigger than what's normal in a neighborhood.
Well,
That's-
Eve, I
ahead.
mean, you're being asked to give them a use variance to allow two dwellings on the property. So do you have the jurisdiction to do that? Yes, you do, but you're correct in noting that this is a different request than the way George was framing it, which is, well, it's an ADU, it's just too big. So you're correct in the way you're looking at it, and but you have it's within your purview to allow a variance like this, except you need to explain, as you do with every variance, what's the basis for whether you decide to approve or deny.
Well, I guess it surprises me in a way that we could vote on this, but it then makes me wonder why George's question, why the ADU, why we can't say that it's not a permitted, I don't know how to.
May I maybe frame it this way? We allow variances for a lot of things. Why is the ADU ordinance immune to the variance concept?
It's
it
not
seems-
immune, it's,
To me, that's what you're saying. We can't make an ADU variance.
well, this isn't an ADU. It doesn't qualify as one. That's the whole problem. That's the reason we're here, George, you know? That's the reason it's a D1 variance. Requires 5 votes, shows special reasons, not harm the zoning plan, not harm the zone ordinance. So if it was smaller, then it would be just setbacks. If it was 800 square feet, then you could rule on the setbacks of the ADU.
Well, it is an accessory dwelling unit. It's
Well,
just size.
No, actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
Isn't, and you know, I could be wrong, but I also had all these thoughts on this that have been expressed and back and forth in my mind. There are some hard restrictions on qualifying for an ADU at all. You can still go with side yard setback if you satisfy the basic height, square footage type things. You can have a slightly smaller lot. But I think George's question and what Eve is getting at, is there a hard, no, you don't qualify as an ADU, some types of restrictions? And I think what Derek is saying, yeah, you never get to be an ADU if you're above the 800 or 25%. You're out of the ADU ballpark.
So if they were to come back in and say, we're going to take down a portion of the existing structure and bring it into conformance with an ADU, they can do that.
Correct. Remember, the accessory dwelling unit is accessory to the single family home.
Right.
If you cannot meet the basic criteria for an accessory dwelling unit, then as Derek has determined, this now is no longer an accessory dwelling unit. It moves into the realm of being a second principal dwelling. And so that's not accessory anymore under the ordinance. The ordinance has created these standards, the idea being that the size is important and that it's tied. That's why the size is tied to the square footage of the principal dwelling. So this is why simply saying, oh, okay, it's too big, we just want a variance from that, is not in accordance with the definition of what an accessory dwelling unit is. At this point, as Derek has determined, the use and the structure, they don't conform anymore. They don't, if I have a very basic definition of what something is, like a single family home, here's definition of a single family home, but I want to build a 2-family home. Well, I don't think I could say to the board, no, I just need a variance from the standards for a single family home because I want to build 2-family home.
Well, isn't
So-
that what we're being asked to do right now?
You are being asked to grant the use variance now to allow a second principal dwelling on the property.
Yeah.
Zoning does not allow that. It is a use that's not allowed. So the applicant is before you to say, well, and I'm not, I'm not going to second guess what their arguments are going to be, but the point is, this is the determination that's been made by your zoning officer that it is no longer meeting the basic criteria for an accessory dwelling unit. And that's based on the size.
And 2 single-family dwellings on one lot are specifically excluded
Right,
in municipality.
that's correct. In this zone,
Right.
but yeah, actually throughout the municipality, in a residential zone, you can't have more than one principal dwelling.
And in this particular zone R2, you can't have a duplex.
Correct.
You can't have a 2-family, 1-structure home. As Eve was pointing out, it gets to be a whole different lift. You can only build, as of right, 1 structure that contains 1 family.
Or a structure with an ADU.
Correct.
That meets the basic criteria.
It's the basic criteria, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we allow the applicant to start?
I just have a real quick question. So the lot area, the existing lot area is a little less than 31,000 square feet. That's the,
Correct.
okay. And the applicant agrees with that?
I discussed it with the architect, I mean,
Yeah.
and it's been recorded on the tax map in
Oh,
accordance with the
okay,
file deed
okay.
from 1964, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question that I guess I'll ask perhaps after the meeting, because I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole. So I will do that after the meeting. Sorry.
Okay, any other comments, questions before we start the hearing? Okay, please start your presentation. I don't know who's going to begin.
I can start with a quick introduction. I'm the applicant, Elvira. So when we bought the house 10 years ago, it came with this additional structure. We call it a barn. And now we are not really planning to change anything, to build anything extra. So we are not changing this existing structure. We would like to make it usable, to make use of it for our family. So when relatives come, my mother is going to arrive. So we'll have a place to stay for them to stay comfortably. We already have a bathroom there, but we would like to just enhance it a little bit. So yeah, my mother can take the shower properly without coming to our house. We would not like to change the external structure, what you're discussing now, because we don't qualify, it will be too disruptive for the neighborhood, I think, and for the overall look of this structure. The changes that we would like to do are, minimal to interior, the stairs and the bathroom and the kitchen.
Ma'am, do you know when the house was built?
When we bought it, it was almost 100 years old. I think it's 19. So we bought it 10 years ago. It was 98 years old. So now it is 100, 18 years
100
old.
plus, okay.
This structure.
But this structure is 50 years old. So we know that it's there since 50 years ago.
And you've given us no plans of what you intend to do on the inside.
So we want to use it for family use. We have relatively small house. We are 5. The kids are growing. We have 3 boys who now share 1 bedroom. We have my mother coming. You know, my mother lives in the other country. My husband's family also lives in another country. So we have some visitors sometimes. And our house is just not enough. So that structure, that's our idea, is to use it for the family stays when we need it.
Okay, what I was asking is, you've given us no plans. Is that bathroom on the first floor or the second floor?
I haven't been sworn
yes.
in. Maybe we should do that, and then I'll help Ella answer
Okay.
the questions.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Of course. Ms. Rubina, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do. Would you
And
like
you are
me
serving
to?
as a project architect, is that correct?
Yes, I am, and I'm a licensed architect in the
Great.
state of New Jersey and the state of California, and have testified in front of this
we'll,
board.
ex-
And
we'll accept you as a professional.
thank you. We have submitted plans that include the interior existing plans and proposed plans, so they may have gone missing. But I also have a presentation whenever you guys are ready that I could walk everybody through.
Okay, it's your.
Would that be okay right now?
It would be, yes. Well, is the owner done testifying?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Fine, please continue.
All right. Hopefully everybody could see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes.
So this is the survey that the owners have from when they have purchased the house. This is the existing home where they live, as Ella described, with 3 kids. They have a freestanding little 1-car garage, and then they have this structure that contains a garage, kind of we're not sure what area next to the garage. It does have what we would call a powder room because it doesn't have a shower, but it has a sink and a toilet, and it has a open playroom on the 2nd floor, and it has an exterior stair, and it has what we've been calling a porch in the back. So to get everybody oriented, this is the existing home that stands up front along Cherry Hill Road. These are the photographs of the existing building. So it's made out of concrete block. This is the garage. This is the view into that portion where the bathroom is, and that's the playroom upstairs. And then the only way to get upstairs right now is this exterior stair. To get everybody oriented on the property. Unfortunately, where the existing building stands, it doesn't meet the setback requirement, probably because it may have been built prior to setback requirements, but it is where it is. And then these plans are hopefully are going to be useful in explaining what's going on. So right now there's a garage door. There's you can sort of pull into this garage space, and it's just open and it has windows all around. There's this room that is sort of entry/bathroom, has plumbing. And as you can see, there's no connection to the upstairs, so you kind of have to go back out and go up the stair. And then there's this, we're not 100% sure what it was used originally, but to us, we call it porch, feels like porch. And then on the proposed plan, we're not proposing adding anything on the exterior of the structure. We are proposing to close the garage door, put a people door. And then in the bathroom, we're hoping to add a shower, as Ella described, that if they have guests who wanted to take a shower at this little structure, they would be able to. And we had multiple conversations with Derek, since the structure is existing. His feeling is that if we were to just remodel you know, the toilet room as it is, then there wouldn't be any issues. However, the minute you add a shower, it becomes a dwelling unit effectively. So in order to have a shower, here we are, we're having a D1 variance. And then this.
We're also adding a kitchen.
Yes, I'm just getting to that exactly. So the proposed would be to have a small kitchen added in this kind of open space here, and hopefully an internal staircase to allow one to go up and down between the two floors. And then clean up this kind of as Steve pointed out correctly, kind of storage of, you know, unclear wood, and make it into an actual porch in the back. So we're adding a shower, we're proposing to add a kitchen and an internal stair. On the second floor, you just right now come and it's one big open space with the, you know, just kind of couches and toys. It's finished space. And then here the only difference will be that we would add a stair that goes up and down, and then you see the roof below. There's nothing on top of the porch. From the exterior, this is literally the way the building is right now. You could see this is where the garage door is. It is too close to the property line. It happens to be 2-story. The most finished space out of all the finished spaces in this building is the upstairs. The bottom is kind of not exactly in the greatest shape. So no exterior changes are proposed, you know, no additions, nothing. So here are the options that we have in order to, and as exactly the same logic that you guys were asking, we thought this would be an ADU. And we thought, okay, well, how does one make this into an ADU? And so one option is to demolish the whole thing and build a conforming ADU. We're not asking for any FAR variances or anything like that. So it is possible for the homeowners to take down the entire building and build a conforming ADU without variances. Another option would be to remove the second floor. But that, given the concrete block building and the really the most useful space in this building is the second floor, because it is a big open playroom, which is really needed in this situation of a small house plus, you know, entertaining 3 boys. Or the alternative is for the homeowners, if they were to make an addition to their existing house, they could get to the point where this structure would be, you know, 25% or some kind of other form of making this balance out so that it would be an ADU. So we felt that doing all of those things, the strict application of zoning is really a hardship in this case, because what they're really proposing is reusing an existing structure that existed for 50 years. The changes that they're proposing are incredibly minor. You know, they're adding a shower, adding a small kitchen, and an internal stair. That compared to demolishing a whole structure and building from scratch feels like it's a very different project. So we believe that if this is not allowed, the only possibility, they can't add a shower. They would basically just have to continue using this building. And we did discuss with Derek, what if we just add an internal stair? And he feels that adding an internal stair will still trigger all of these variances. So something even having an ability to go, you know, to the bathroom from the playroom still causes all of these issues. Just the building itself as it exists is very non-conforming. So we believe that the special reasons, as you can see from this tax map, this funny shaped property here, there's nothing typical or usual about this property, is very odd and unusual. So this is not going to set some precedent that everybody else is going to follow. Property shape and size is unique and peculiar and does not apply to neighborhood properties. And the key thing here is that this building exists. This is how this property came. It predates zoning. It's just kind of a peculiar situation for this particular property. We believe that the positive criteria is that this is an adaptive reuse of an existing building with only minor alterations that will achieve similar results as one would get if the whole thing were demolished in construction. And we feel that the positive environmental impact of reducing landfill and saving embodied energy is important here. Also, if this was a demolition start over, this would be a very different major project that would be a lot of noise and nuisance inevitably associated with a construction project and would have an impact on the neighbors. And also, we believe that a positive criteria is ability to utilize this existing building, which is sort of in not the greatest shape, but bringing it up to a usable standard would really be kind of an improvement for everybody. We looked at the master plan and the relationship to the master plan. So the master plan definitely encourages adaptive reuse of buildings. So there's a whole section that in the ideal world, we're trying to, as much as possible, achieve things without having major demolition. And even though this is not an accessory dwelling unit, it is in fact very similar because it is an accessory structure. So in our master plan, I thought this was really interesting. This land use 2.0 section says creative legacy provisions to permit changes to lawfully existing non-conforming lots and buildings that do not exacerbate pre-existing non-conforming conditions. This would reduce the cost and time for projects that would otherwise be beneficial to the community. So it feels like, whoops, this number 8 literally describes this project where we have a structure that exists. Right now, we just don't have provisions for how to deal with these pre-existing structures that don't quite fit the contemporary code. We are failing to see the negative impact here, but just to reiterate, so 2 dwelling units, even though it would be primary and an accessory, would be allowed. The relationship, one being larger, one being smaller, is maintained, very similar. So we're not asking for exceeding any FAR, we're not adding anything, we're not impacting the neighbors. We feel that utilizing the structure the way that it is actually way, way better for the neighborhood. So that really summarized our plan of action here. Hopefully we have explained this clearly, but if anybody would like me to go back and point anything else out on the plans, or I understand this is a small project with a complicated concept here, but hopefully we've explained what we're planning to do.
Mr. Bina, 2 quick questions. Do you want this marked as an exhibit?
Probably. You would know better.
Okay, that's fine. And did you prepare all these slides?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Can you tell me what I can't read it on the drawing, what's the dimension of the existing building exclusive of that porch, you call it?
It's 25 feet. This is a good dimension. Are you able to read this? 25 feet, 4.5 inches by 20 feet, 8.5 inches.
So, okay. So it's about 1,000 square feet on 2 floors.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'm getting 1,050. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Derek counted the stair. I'm not sure how did he arrive at 1,100. I'm getting 1,050.
But the bottom line is it's over the.
Sorry, the porch, it goes to 249. So I got,
Oh, so you added the
like,
porch into it?
part of the porch is exempted, but the portion that's over 200.
Oh, got
square
it,
feet
because
gets
porches
bumped
are
over.
only allowed to be 200 square feet, and this existing porch is
It's
a
like
little bit over.
249. So that's how
Gotcha,
I got the
okay.
1100.
Got it, okay.
All right, thank you. That's all I had to ask. Board members, any questions of the applicant on Ms. Rubino?
I have a question for Derek, actually.
Would you like me to keep sharing or stop sharing?
It's fine. I mean, yeah, I don't need the,
Take it
plans
down,
up.
in case anybody would like to see it again, happy to share again.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
So if this structure did not have a kitchen, what would it be? It wouldn't be a dwelling unit, right?
It is what it exists today. It was
So that
bought
would be the
with a-
same category.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's a non-conforming structure regarding the setback and the height, and it's just one of those odd situations where it's you know, I don't know what the initial use was of this building. I could not find any records in the tax department on it, so I was hoping to find out. I couldn't find any permits for bathrooms or, you know, improvements to it. Or
So if they had the living area, the shower, the toilet, everything, and the stair, but no kitchen, it would still be considered, I'm sorry, if the stair were in but no kitchen, would that be a dwelling unit, or is it just an accessory structure?
well, it doesn't have a bath now. I mean, it has a half a bath. It doesn't have a shower.
So what triggered?
Okay, I'm trying to understand the,
Well, when you put a full bath with a shower, it leads one to think that it's going to be habitable space.
right, but is it two principal dwellings if it didn't have a kitchen?
Well, I mean, I have to draw the line somewhere. You put a bathroom, a full bath with a shower, then I think it's.
Then it is, okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean-
got it.
Okay. I have a question. So we're trying to put, the applicant is trying to put two principal dwellings on a lot that's already substantially undersized. Is this a situation where it's appropriate to have the applicant try to purchase additional land on either side to temper any of this?
I'm gonna attempt to answer this one. So we are not exceeding allowable square footage that is allowed to build on this property. We're meeting the requirements for how many square feet are allowed on this property. Even if we had more area, two families still not allowed. So no matter how much area we purchase, we would still be in the same conundrum.
No, I
Because
understand that.
yeah, so unfortunately, that wouldn't help us.
What I'm just trying to say is, as a practical matter, maybe that would be a consideration, something you might want to consider. Since you're having a more intensive use of one of these structures now.
I think that we believe that this would not be a more intensive use than an accessory dwelling unit, even though it doesn't meet the requirement, but the use is the same. Somebody will have a house that is the primary dwelling unit in a smaller other place where family members could stay. So the intensity of use is effectively exactly the same as it would be allowed. But unfortunately, the shape of the existing building, the fact that it's two-story, doesn't fit into the current ADU requirements.
Right, and so it's really not allowed. But okay, so the answer is no. Okay.
We wish.
No, the answer is no, you're not interested in purchasing additional property. Okay.
Yeah, and they
Thank
wouldn't
you.
help, unfortunately, but thank you.
I have a question. Derek, what is the maximum allowable ADU area for this property?
It's 800 square feet or 25% of the floor area of the principal dwelling, which in this case is it's like 2,000 square feet, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That's the house. It would have to, that's even less than an 800 square feet, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So we would have to remove a substantial portion of the second floor, but we would still have a problem because it would still be a second floor and it would still wouldn't work because 2 floors are not allowed at that location.
2 floors are not allowed?
Right. The 2-story accessory structures are not allowed to be this close to the property line. It's 8
Okay, so
feet
it's
to the
side- it's a
property.
setback variance issue.
Yeah, we've tried that.
Well,
We're like, what else can we try?
I mean, in theory, you could take the porch off the back, cut back the first floor in the back or the front, make that your porch, and bring this thing down to 800 square feet.
Yeah, but we would still have the issue with the 2-story.
Yeah, I know, but it would get it closer to an ADU than a single family dwelling, or 2 single family dwellings on one lot.
I see what you mean. So that we would still need variances, but it wouldn't be considered so we thought that if we left the garage as the garage, then we wouldn't be having this issue. But Derek doesn't seem to agree with that.
Well, you already have a garage, so I think
It is already a garage, so, but Derek believes that even if we keep the garage as the garage, which we were happy to do, it would still count towards the area.
Okay, but in my opinion, this could be crafted in such a way that you wouldn't have I'm very concerned about 2 single family dwellings on one lot. Specifically excluded throughout the municipality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways to get around that, which are less onerous than, in my opinion, than allowing the 2 single families on one lot.
So for example, if we were to keep the garage as the garage, which we were really totally fine doing, the actual living space would be below 800 square feet. It wouldn't be, but then it still doesn't solve the problem.
Marina, you mean the garage area of this second?
There's an existing garage as part of this building, which we were
Yes,
hoping,
that's-
we were proposing we would keep it as the garage.
Not the freestanding one, just to
Yeah,
be clear.
right, but that we
There's
could
one in
just,
the middle between the 2 buildings.
exactly. So if we were to just keep the garage as the garage and not make it living space, which is totally fine, Derek believes that that still doesn't get us to be an ADU.
But you could leave the existing freestanding garage the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could modify this structure, in my opinion, minimally, and get and create an ADU that might need variances, but still an ADU.
How do you feel we could modify this minimally so that it's still an ADU?
You leave, well, in my opinion, and you're the architect and I'm not,
Right?
you take out enclosed area on the first floor and make that a porch, allow the second floor to overhang the first, get rid of the shed in the back, and bring the area down. You have to bring it down 200 square feet. So,
So if we were to take a portion of the existing garage, let's say, and convert that to a porch,
I'm
would that be, like you're suggesting, bring the area down below 800 square feet?
mhm.
Then we could bring it to, it's not a second
A
whether
second,
it's,
single family home.
but it's an ADU.
Family home.
Can I interrupt a minute? Steve, I know you and I disagree on this, but I don't think it's our point to help them redesign this.
I know, I'm just trying to, and you're right, Stephen. What I'm just trying to say is they're saying that this modification is a hardship. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And that was my comment. That's
No,
all.
I know, I'm,
Yeah, it's fine. I understand
I
what you're saying.
agree. I know what you're
Yeah.
doing and I think it's
Well,
fine, but I just,
we have tried any way that we could think of to make this an ADU. We have, you know, the original plan was to convert this to an ADU. And we thought that we've tried pretty much everything. And we were told that the minute we put in a shower, the structure is, you're done. You're no longer qualifying. So I do appreciate your help if we could say, look, how does one bring this to an ADU? I don't think we would, without demolishing the whole thing or taking down the second floor.
Okay. All right, I guess we disagree on that. Okay, it's fine. I understand what you're saying. Okay,
I have a couple of questions.
please.
The owner keeps referring to this as a place for out-of-town guests to stay. Or you refer to it as a playroom for 3 children or so. You don't have any bedrooms designated. And the first question I have is it going to be a bedroom upstairs or is it going to be a playroom?
I'm not sure what the distinction is because, you know, for example, when my parents come to visit, they sleep in an office. So one could have a playroom with a folding sofa where grandma sleeps when grandma comes to visit. So I'm not 100% sure what is the distinction.
Well, I think Derek in his memo posed the same question and asked you to explain to us what you're planning on doing.
Right, and I think
Just
the point is that right now it functions as a playroom. It will continue to function as a playroom. And then when there are visitors, they're totally fine sleeping on a sofa in a playroom. There are studio apartments that do not include bedrooms. That's totally fine. That's still, people live like that. But if it's critical for some reason to designate it as a bedroom, I don't see, they do have a sofa bed there now.
We currently use the space, there is a playroom and the kids play there. But there is also a sofa. So when Maurizio's brother came this summer for a family event, he was sleeping there. He was coming to our house to take a shower, of course, but we didn't have a place for him to stay. So he was sleeping there. Our purpose, really why we want to do it, is for our family to, when they stay with us, to stay comfortably. So that's
No, I understand that, but it's just that you talk about family coming and Marina talks about children playing. My concern is that when you sell the place, it will not continue to be a playroom or a place for family to stay on occasion. It will become a second house on the property.
Well, Stephen, it can become a second house now. I mean,
I understand. No, I know that.
What you label things is
No, I
fluid,
do
so.
know that, but I mean, we're
Yeah.
kind of talking sympathetically about a place for children to play and for
Right.
parents to stay.
Right.
But when it is sold, the next owners aren't going to be talking about a place for children to play and parents to visit. I'm just in my head, it sounds like a second house to me.
It is a second house.
Yeah, clearly a second house.
Okay, so Derek, how does a condo type thing work?
Do you think do you want Mr. Bina to stop sharing so we see
Stop
each
sharing
other?
the plan?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry about that.
Great.
Not sure what you mean, Harlan.
We had a situation where somebody came to us and it was a brilliant, what we thought was a brilliant legal move of converting a second
That's the
property.
former borough where you could have two houses on one lot, but they changed the ordinance in 2006.
Didn't they make something
2008.
into a condo though? And isn't that how they circumvented that in some way?
That was before. They were coming for a
Ah.
subdivision, and then there were so many odd variances between the two houses that was converted to a condo. Because you were allowed to have more than one principal dwelling on a lot, but that was the borough, which has since changed the ordinance, and this is in the township. And as you were all painfully aware, we have not consolidated the code yet, so.
Okay.
I said good memory, sorry.
That was the property on Cleveland Lane, not Cleveland,
That's
Cleveland Lane.
okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments, board members? Do we want to ask more questions before we open this up to the public? Okay, Ms. Rubino or your client, want to say anything before we open this up to public comment?
Hello, would you like to say something or should I try to sum up or?
You can
You-
wait, Ms. Rubina, to sum up if you want to hear public comment
Sure,
first.
yeah, and we'd be
Okay.
happy to answer if there are any additional questions from the board or the public. That sounds great. Thank you. Good idea.
Okay, all right, so we'll open this up to the public. Claudia, has anyone indicated they'd like to speak on this application?
No, not yet.
Okay,
Well, do people, let's just explain to people they need to raise their hands, so they need to click into the
if there's
symbol.
anyone in the audience who'd like to speak, you raise your hands. There's a button on the bottom and then you'll be recognized and be allowed to speak.
Button on the bottom, raise hand.
Hi, yes, this
There we
is
go.
Alan. I think, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, this is Alan McMichael. I'm here with my wife, Melinda Roberts, and we're neighbors in the in this in this matter. And
Can we have your last name and your address?
my name is Alan McMichael, and my wife's name is Melinda Roberts, and we're at 40 Montedale Drive, which would be adjacent to the property to the east of the property.
Okay,
What, 1 second, Karen? I lost Karen.
Can you do the video at one?
I maybe can do the video.
Great, it's right down here.
Karen's muted. Oh,
There
Ma'am.
she is.
There we go.
Okay.
There
Karen,
we go. I'm sorry, ma'am and sir, could you just repeat your names again? I didn't hear it, so.
This is Alan McMichael, and I'm here with my wife, Melinda Roberts.
Okay. And sir, if you're comfortable, can you give us your address?
It's 40 Montedale Drive.
And do you both swear or affirm that any testimony you give this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much.
please proceed.
Do you want to
Go ahead.
go ahead? Well, we have a long notice here, which if you like, we'll read it into the record.
Please.
That's
Okay.
fine. But when you say notice, that you really mean a statement, correct?
Yes,
There's
yes.
It's a
Right.
statement that we've already submitted via PDF to the secretary.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure whether you want us to read it or just highlight our concerns.
I would think it would be good to read it. And then it becomes part of the record. Is that
Okay.
That's
All
fine.
right. As very near neighbors of 353 Cherry Hill Road, we hereby submit a formal objection against the variances that have been proposed for the construction of a second residence at 353 Cherry Hill Road. We strongly object to the proposed variances. Of course, the owners of that property are free, consistent with zoning laws, to renovate and possibly expand the footprint of variances related to which might well not object to their existing residence. So we're looking that as an option that we would propose to them. But to create a second residence is very different. It's immaterial that it would start from the old unused structure, which structure was obviously never meant to serve as a residence. In any case, if that structure is to be used as a safe living space, implementation of the plan surely will eventually demand its reconstruction from the ground up. While the representation from the owner, without any guarantee or evidence, states that the second residence would be for family use, such as visits from grandma and uncles, there is no mechanism to make sure that usage is limited in that way. The current owners and any future owners would be free, for example, to rent or B&B the one or the other of the two residences out to any size group or any number of short-term residents they pleased going forward. I guess that's our understanding. Moreover, there's no material hardship to be faced if, quoting from the informal note now distributed to near neighbors, grandma or uncles have to get a hotel or share a room in the existing residence. We'd like to have our whole extended family here at our house too, but it hardly qualifies as a hardship that we can't build a second residence on our 2 acres that makes that wish come true. That is not legally or ethically the kind of situation that counts as a hardship for the zoning board purposes. Finally, even if the usage is somehow limited to family use, and if that limit could somehow be enforced, our objection would remain enforced and just as strong. If they can create a second residence at their place, the zoning laws should be completely revised to allow the entire neighborhoods of Cherry Hill Road, Crestview, Montedale Drive, and Montedale Circle to do the same. For a more personal perspective, the proposal puts the new residence within just a few yards of our back property line. We bought the property at 40 Montedale Drive, and I'm sure the same is true for many others in the relevant neighborhoods, in part due to the existing zoning laws and our trust that those laws would be enforced. We bought the property to avoid the scenario of having a new residence within spitting distance of our own back fence. Indeed, the proposed residence appears to be closer to our own back property line than it is to their existing residence. It clearly changes the nature and character of our neighborhood, especially if other neighborhoods and even ourselves are treated equally and also allowed to construct second residences of our own larger properties. And it's not an upgrade. Certainly other owners' property values will be adversely affected. Just as a background, we previously owned until 2001 the 4+ acres at 363 Cherry Hill Road, and we were repeatedly informed, indeed educated by the architect, by the realtor, and our own very competent and aggressive lawyer, that keeping the existing cozy house in place and creating a main house in the back, even at the location of an existing permanent shed and far away from any property lines, was something we could not do. So we could see the point and never went so far as to request a variance. Instead, we enjoyed the cozy house for a couple of years, ultimately decided to move to another property, happens to be in the same neighborhood, adjacent to the old place, and we reigned on good terms with our neighbors. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other comments? Okay, board members, do you have any questions of this neighbor? Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, Claudia, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
There are no hands.
Okay. All right. I will close the public portion of the hearing. I'll allow the applicant to make any statement they'd like to make before we go into executive session.
I'd be happy to speak a little bit to the neighbors' concerns. So first of all, I am assuming that their residents at the previous location probably predated accessory dwelling units, and they may not be aware that any person who lives in a single family zone right now is able to build a secondary accessory structure on their property and have another family live there, and it's perfectly legal. So they're totally able to do that on their property. And should Maurizio and Ella would like to do that on their property, they're also within their rights to do so. Also, the fact that they're converting an existing structure really works with the master plan and with the goals, and that clearly says that we should strive to work on adaptively reusing existing properties and, existing buildings, rather than demolishing and starting from scratch. And the impact on the neighbor in the back is substantially reduced when what the current owners of 353 are trying to do is an interior remodel of a structure that fully exists, already has plumbing. They're really proposing to add an interior stair, a shower, and a little kitchen. And the impact on the neighborhood is going to be substantially reduced rather than demolishing this existing building and building a completely new, fully compliant accessory dwelling unit. We have tried really hard to make this an accessory dwelling unit. We have tried keeping the garage. We have tried all of the things, is it the kitchen? Literally just putting in a shower in an existing powder room triggers this situation, as we were told. So we believe that, yes, indeed, it's a hardship for somebody who has an existing structure with plumbing that could just be so close to being remodeled and useful and brought to life, to not be able to do that just because it was built prior to existing zoning being in existence. We welcome your suggestions or recommendations if we missed something or there are other ways that we could be thinking about this. We welcome your suggestions. We tried bending backwards to make this work and hope that this meets everybody's requirements because of the nature of the existing structure. If this was brand new, we definitely wouldn't be doing this and we wouldn't be putting it where it is. So Ella, do you feel like I've explained that pretty clearly?
Yes, thank you, Marina.
So again, happy to answer any questions or any other suggestions. Happy to hear all of your thoughts.
I do have one more question. Do you have anywhere on the plans the heating and air conditioning of this?
Actually, there is a wall heating and air conditioning unit that exists upstairs already. It's existing. It's one of those that goes inside and it's heated already.
Okay, thank you.
That's going to handle the first floor as well as the second?
If it won't, we'll do a similar unit that it's not an exterior unit, but it would be one of those wall mounted ones. Yeah. But there's one already. It's a heated space upstairs already. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you want to say anything else before we go into executive session?
Do we want to say anything else? Did we forget anything? I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, board members, let's discuss this and come to some resolution or make a motion or whatever is your pleasure. Any comments?
If I understand it correctly, we are allowed to, I would say, overrule the single-family dwelling zoning is that, I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's correct, Dee. You just need to explain, as you do with every variance, what's the basis. So in this case, if you want to allow what the zoning officer has opined are going to be 2 single-family dwellings, you would need to articulate why. And honestly, not just to allow me to prepare an accurate resolution, but also because Because in future, if this question arises, we need to understand each case is decided on its own facts, but you need to be clear about what is it about these facts that would persuade you to allow this. And the same thing when you consider the hardship. I know the applicant has indicated they don't know what they could do to convert this or allow this to be considered an ADU. I know there's been some dialogue with the board chairman, so they're requesting they're requesting this variance as well as their bulk variances as hardships. So, that would be another finding that you would need to make.
I wish I'd gone to law school tonight.
No, you don't.
Well, for tonight, maybe.
I
Not for the night, though.
I just don't. I don't see that there's special reasons here. They are getting a use out of the structure right now. They're getting a reasonable use. They're even having a family member sleep in there. So it's not, they're not being deprived of a reasonable use of the building as it is right now. And I don't know that it's, that what they're asking is then what the rest of the neighborhood may ask for. I don't know that it's not generally applicable to neighboring properties. I don't see anything, unique or peculiar here. And I wish that they could, if they wanted to make an ADU, that they would make an ADU.
It strikes me what they're requesting is not unreasonable. And actually it is in line with the master plan and is in line with the idea of minimal impact in terms of not only on the land, but if they want, they could tear, as I said, they could tear it down, rebuild, which would be a temporary inconvenience, but it would also create, it would create some uproar during the time that it's happening. I understand that the neighbors who spoke are concerned, and Mr. Schreiber is concerned, and I think maybe other people here on the screen are concerned about when they might sell the house, what kind of mayhem would happen next in that space. And I just don't know if we can hold people hostage to the future that way, because we don't know. It might be, and it's true that it would be available for use. So it's kind of an open question, but we can't assume that that's what would happen. It's a possibility. I just think there's, I would not, I've been thinking about this since this afternoon. I do not take it lightly to go against how that it's zoned as single family, but it sounds like, we're here to rule on things that are in a gray area. And apparently we wouldn't be talking about it tonight if this wasn't something that we had jurisdiction to rule on. And we may be creating we would be, if we vote in favor of it, be creating a precedent of some sort, although it could also have specificity, which I'm probably not would have to be the one to think it up right now, unless I have any help, that would make it not just sort of carte blanche for others. That would not be my goal. Michael, it looks like you'd like to jump in here.
Please speak.
Yeah, when you're finished. If
I'm finished for now. I need to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Understood. I've also given this a lot of thought from a lot of different angles. I want to start with some things that were said. And I struggle with this. I understand, you know, the new goals of the master plan. And I struggle with the fact that the town has not changed zoning. So we're left with the current zoning. And that's something that Eve pointed out in the very, very beginning. The town did do a couple of years ago a little adjustment by doing the accessory dwelling ordinance, which even in an R2, which before couldn't have a second structure dwelling unit, it now allows it in the R2. Obviously, we've discussed the fact that that is a limited allowing of a second dwelling unit. I think the town made that decision at that time. They haven't changed the zoning for R2. And yeah, we have to weigh the current applicable zoning. Matter of fact, as the neighbor pointed out, if they change zoning on the whole zone to allow it not just accessory, then any neighbor can do it, and that would be fair. There was a statement that the size, shape of the lot is not an issue by the applicant's architect. I think it is an issue. Not the big issue regarding use, but somewhat. It's a more intensified use of technically a lot that's 45% of what it should be, according to the zoning. And we all know about the odd Princeton zoning sometimes. I think for me, I've seen enough properties that have dwellings on it that I believe some people have converted, or we will see in the future want to convert it like this, even minimally. And maybe they're only 1,100 square foot too, and sort of just miss. Or if they're much greater, where do I draw the line of, okay, you don't qualify accessory dwelling, but you're still close enough? Is 1,400 close enough that I would give a variance outside of accessory dwelling ordinance, and therefore undercut the R2 zoning? I don't know where to draw that line. I'm sure there'll be more existing structures come before us, but that's my belief. I think if it was a tighter, actually R3 or R4 that allows a lot of different arrangements as far as duplexes and multiple dwelling, that's different. But this is a very restrictive zone. If you asked me yesterday, I was close to voting for it. But as I thought it all through, as many of you have, I can't get there. I think it will undercut the zoning. I think there is an impact. I respect the neighbors, some of the neighbors' points. And I think the statement that it will have no impact on the neighborhood, I don't agree with that. I won't debate it. And I don't, even though I understand there's an existing building, we're not saying you got to knock it down to continue the current arrangement. If we were saying that, that might be a greater hardship. But I think there isn't a great hardship, even though the existing building is there and it's not too far over. And I'll stop there and let others speak.
Well, let me say something here. I agree with Michael's comments as well as some things Eve has said. In this case, I don't believe there's a hardship. I'll start at that, because I think the existing structure, given the condition of it, can be modified if they wanted to go the route of making this an ADU. I think so I don't feel there's really a hardship. I think the amount of work to bring this, to improve this, is going to be significant, but we can argue that point, what the amount of work is. But I think it can be done, so I don't agree with the hardship aspect to this. I have a greater issue with the fact that we're being asked to allow for 2 single-family dwellings on one lot. I think that has a ripple effect, and I think that's too great an ask on our part. So, I mean, I'll leave that at that right now. But I went back and forth on this as well, and I really feel that I can't support this application the way it's being presented. Any other comments, board members?
Would somebody just remind me, accessory dwelling unit, can that be a completely separate individual or family, or is it, I mean, that's, in a sense, it's two separate homes on one property, right?
Yeah, it could be sold separately, it could be rented separately.
Well, it can only be sold separately if it's turned into condos.
Yes, yeah.
It's not the town doesn't yet allow subdivision so that you can have these structures on independent lots. But if you turned it into condos, that's correct. You could sell it.
I'd like to make a comment about Steve Cohen's analysis.
Thank you. Go ahead, George.
You know, the question of the garage, this sounds kind of silly, but if you were to fill the garage with cement and make it absolutely impossible to use it as a structure, presumably that turns it into an ADU. So I just, you know, there are ways to create an ADU out of the structure. What I've suggested is probably not any viable solution, but there are viable solutions. That's the point.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Concrete may be a little drastic, but the thought is there. But I think the structure can be converted and modified without, in my opinion, rising to the level of a hardship.
But
Any other comments?
is it,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm troubled by the 2 principal residences on one lot. I'm also troubled by, you know, what needs to be done with the existing structure that it seems architecturally there's, you know, lots of reasons to approach it the way it's being approached, but I am bothered by the fact that I would be much more comfortable if it could have gone the way of an ADU variance of some kind, just for a larger size, but I'm not comfortable with the two residences, unfortunately. And there are ways, I think, to make some use of what's already there. It's not ideal, but I think there are ways to get to the compliant ADU.
But it would be 2 residences if it was an ADU.
Yes.
It's not 2 principal though, right? Yeah, that's
it wouldn't be 2 single-family residences on one lot.
but just not principal residences.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I wish I understood the difference.
Marina wants to say something, Steve.
Oh, go ahead, please. Wait, well, Marina, let us finish first and then you'll can speak. Board members, any other questions or comments? Okay, go ahead, Michael, did you want to say something?
You're muted, Michael.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay. It's just that, you know, if it was, yes, there would be 2 residences or dwelling unit structures on the lot if it was an ADU, but there wouldn't be a use variance.
Right.
That whole elephant goes away.
Exactly.
That's a gigantic difference.
It would be conforming.
Yeah, they could do that as a right if they could come in under that. Other than a side yard setback, but that's not a use variance.
Well, to get to the ADU
Yeah.
area, they'd have to play around a little bit, but yes, but the idea of not going with a single family, but going with an ADU would be significantly different. You're right. Any other comments? Okay,
I did have one.
go ahead. Well,
My hand up was
Are you-
earlier.
you
I'm
wanna
not sure.
we really, unfortunately, the public portion of the comment period is,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But your statement was read into the record and we heard it. Ms. Rubino, do you want to say anything?
Yes, so if I'm to summarize, what we're hearing from everybody, and we tried to make this an ADU, but it sounds like the approach we tried was by maintaining the garage or removing the second floor, which was not meeting Derek's requirements. But it sounds like Steve just came up with a brilliant solution of converting a portion of the first floor to outdoor space, which might just get us there. So we feel that if I'm summarizing everybody's, that we would like to see the structure reused. If this structure remained where it is, obviously, but it could fit into the size of an ADU, the use variance wouldn't be there, right? Then we would be asking for side yard and height to setback variance. And that would be fine because that's a hardship due to the fact that that's the way the existing building is. We wouldn't be making it any worse, but then it wouldn't be a second primary residence. Am I hearing everybody correctly? I feel like I'm
Well,
hearing, and then
I think you can take it as you heard some guidance.
right.
You did not hear us vote that it would be fine. And I don't want that left on the record.
Correct.
Michael is
So
correct.
would you be open to carrying this to the following meeting where we could come back with a proposal where we would try to remove the extra square footage that is triggering the fact that it's not an ADU?
I, for one, would be absolutely open to such a.
If you wish to carry this application to another hearing, it may not necessarily be the next hearing. That's
Next available.
next available, then that's completely your decision. If you don't want us to vote on it tonight, we won't, and we could, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, we can carry this to another hearing.
You can, if we don't have a specific date, then the applicant may need to renotice. And I don't know right now if Mr. Bridger can give it a precise date, because I know we've got I believe there's a lot of applications still coming up, but I'll let Derek speak to that.
I have a bunch in the hopper that are ready to be placed on the next agenda. So, I mean, I already have a big one on April, so maybe May.
So
We have another one on April with multiple principal dwellings on a lot, so
oh,
that'll go a while, I think, so.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Well,
I guess the only other question is if the applicant is going to revise their plans, then I'm assuming at least their neighbors within 200 feet would be interested in seeing what they look like. So, but at this point, if we can give it an exact date, then the applicant doesn't have to renotice, but we would ask that they provide it to the board secretary at least 10 days before the meeting so it can
No,
be
no,
posted.
no. I want it
Nope.
more than 10 days. That doesn't give me
Okay.
time to review the application.
All right, then how much in advance would you need revised plans?
At least 3 weeks before the hearing date.
Okay.
and if do we actually, Karen, do we actually have to identify another hearing date right now?
You do, or we can let the applicant know and they'll just renotice. We'll just inform them of when it can next be heard and it will be renoticed.
Would it be possible for us to be on the May agenda?
Well, let's see what Mr.
What the
Burnett- we have-
date is, that would be wonderful.
May 28th.
May 28th, and then we would have to provide, as Derek said, documentation to him. I'm sure we'll be in back and forth sooner than that, but at least 3 weeks prior to May 28th.
And then Derek, is it fair to let the public know tonight that those revised plans will be posted on the board's website so that neighbors can look at them?
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, and they should need to be posted 10 days prior to the meeting. So that would be, give me a week to look if there's any issues, but I'm sure Marina will be in touch before then and that should work.
Does the May date work, Derek?
It's May, yeah, it does at this point.
And that's what,
28?
28. Okay.
All right, and for the benefit of other board members, if you, I guess if you don't think you'll be there that night, to please let Claudia know, because this application, well, I'll take that back. If the applicant is able to revise the plan so it's an ADU, then it will not, the approvals they need at that point won't require 5 votes. But still, it'd be helpful if Claudia could know and the applicant could know if we're not going to have the full board there that night.
I'm available that day. Okay, so
I won't be there. And I thought Bernice said she wasn't gonna be there.
I'm not there on the I thought we were talking about May. Are we talking about May?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May should be
Oh,
okay.
May.
I'm not there in April, on April 23rd.
I'll be there in May too, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I should be there in May as well.
Also,
I should be able.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just have to juggle my laptop on the Upper West Side.
Okay, so Ms. Rubino,
So then the plan of action, we would like to carry this application to the May 28th hearing, correct? Am I saying that correctly, Karen? With providing documentation to the zoning office at least 3 weeks prior to the date, with the documents to be posted on the municipal website no less than 10 days prior to the hearing. Am I forgetting anything?
yeah, and
That's correct.
They do not need to renotice?
That is correct.
No further notification is required. And we appreciate your guidance and brilliant ideas that came out of this meeting. And we hope that this existing structure could be used the best it can.
Okay, thank you.
Ella, do you feel like you need to add anything, or do we have
Oh,
clarity?
thank you for guiding, and thank you for the advice and the guidance, and thank you for your consideration. We'll prepare for the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other comments? We're done, I guess. Okay, so this hearing is over. Thank you all, and we'll see you next month.
Next.
No, actually, you'll see us in a
Oh,
week.
next week. It's getting to be too much. No, see you all next week. Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay,
Thanks.
good night.